For years, there's been this crisis kind of brewing in the world of AI, the very fuel for all this incredible progress, high quality data. Well, we're running out of it. But what if this wasn't some kind of dead end? What if it's really just an engineering problem? One with a solution that's, well, surprisingly simple and incredibly powerful. So, what exactly is in this recipe for infinite data? Let's break it down. This quote really sets the stage. It comes from Ilya Sutskever, who was a co-founder and the chief scientist at OpenAI. And his warning is pretty stark. Pre-training as we know it will unquestionably end because we have but one internet. The problem is really that simple. We are on track to completely use up the entire internet for training data. And this isn't some far-off distant problem. Nope, it's happening right now. In this image, well, it shows you the problem perfectly. Think about it. You've got this curve shooting straight up. That's AI's appetite for data. And then you have this other line, barely ticking upwards. That's all the human knowledge on the internet. They're on a collision course. We're not just approaching a ceiling here. We are about to hit a wall. Hard. So why this incredible hunger for data? It's really driven by this principle that researchers call the chinchilla scaling law. Basically, for years, the rule was simple. Bigger models need way, way more data to get smarter. The rule of thumb was something like, for every parameter, which you can think of as a little unit of brain power in the model, you needed about 20 tokens of data. A token is basically a word. So as these models got bigger and bigger, their data needs didn't just grow, they absolutely exploded. And a scramble to find new data has gotten, well, it's gotten pretty absurd. People in the field joke about rare token hunters who are out there tracking down dead languages just for new data. But here's the thing, it's not really a joke. You have companies spending millions of dollars to buy and scan physical books just to find a few more words and phrases that their models haven't seen before. It's a massive, expensive treasure hunt. Okay, so you might be thinking, all right, but what about all the newer, more efficient AI models? Surely they'd help solve this. But here's the really interesting twist. They're actually making the problem worse. They're accelerating the crisis. Let's dig into why that is. So let's look at the two main types of models. On the one hand, you have the older, dense models. You can think of these like a brain where every single neuron fires for every single thought. Very powerful, but very computationally expensive. On the other hand, we have the new standard, these mixture of experts, or MOE models. These are much smarter. They're like a brain that only uses small, specialized teams of neurons for any given task. This makes them way cheaper to run. But, and this is the big but, when it comes to training them, their need for data scales with their total brain size, which is absolutely enormous. So they're cheaper to use, but they are somehow even hungrier for data to learn. And here's another critical piece of the puzzle. These MOE models, they're super sensitive to seeing the same data over and over. If you train them on the same dataset more than about twice, what researchers call 2 epochs, their performance just tanks. It really degrades. So it's not just that they need more data. They have this relentless, almost desperate need for new and unique data. Okay, so if we're running out of human data, the obvious solution seems to be synthetic data, right? Just have AI generate more training material for other AIs. But this idea immediately brings up this huge, almost sci-fi kind of fear. Are we about to create a world where AIs just feed on their own output, getting weirder and weirder in a recursive loop until they, I don't know, go crazy? Let's just tackle that fear head on, because it's the first thing everybody thinks of, right? If you train a model on AI-generated stuff, and then you use that model to generate more stuff, don't you just end up in this bizarre recursive loop? Like an echo chamber where all the AI quirks get amplified until the output is just nonsense? Yeah, there's actually a name for this fear. Academics call it model collapse. The theory's pretty intuitive. It's like making a photocopy of a photocopy. Each time you do it, you lose a little bit of detail. With AI, the idea is that as you train models on their own output, they start to forget all the weird, rare, interesting facts, the stuff at the edges, and they just converge on this really bland, distorted, average version of reality. But here's the thing, that scary theoretical problem, it turns out to be surprisingly easy to avoid in the real world. You just need 2 simple guardrails. First, and this is the big one, you never use only synthetic data. You always mix it with a solid base of real human-generated data. And second, you're smart about how you generate the synthetic data. You don't ask an AI or write a new textbook from scratch because it might just make stuff up. Instead, you just ask it to rephrase information that already exists. And that one simple idea, that brings us to the core solution. This is the secret that's quietly powering almost every single frontier AI model out there today. It's not some super complex new algorithm. It's a beautifully simple, elegant idea called rephrasing. So, what is rephrasing? It's pretty much exactly what it sounds like. You take a sentence from the internet, you feed it to a small, cheap AI model, and you just ask it to say the same thing, but in a different way. The underlying information, the core facts, they're all preserved. But the wording, the sentence structure, the syntax, that's all brand new. You've just created a totally novel training example from an old fact without having to invent any new information. And the results of this approach? They're honestly staggering. So this table here compares two different training runs. Red Pajama used only web data. Beyond Web used a mix with synthetic, rephrased data. Now look at this. To get to this same level of accuracy, the synthetic mix needed almost 8 times less data. But the number that really blows my mind is the compute cost. It took 86% less processing power. I mean, that's not just a small improvement. That is an absolute game changer for efficiency. And then there's the money. The economics here are just wild. This chart shows the estimated cost to generate 1 trillion synthetic tokens. 1 trillion. Right now, on today's hardware, we're talking tens of millions of dollars. But look what happens. With the next generation of chips, it drops to a couple million. And a few years after that, we're talking a few $100,000. The cost is just absolutely plummeting. What costs a fortune today will be pocket change in a few years, relatively speaking. Okay, hold on. If it's getting that cheap to make this stuff, the obvious question is, why not just make infinite data? I mean, why not just take one article and rephrase it 1 billion times and train some kind of super intelligent AI? Well, as you might guess, it's not quite that simple. And this is where we get to the real punchline. This insight comes from the team that built the Kimi model, and what they found was fascinating. They learned that showing a model 10 times different ways of saying the same thing was way, way more effective than showing it the same rephrasing 10 times. So the secret sauce here isn't just volume, it's diversity. It's the difference between learning a concept from 10 different teachers, each with their own perspective, versus just having one teacher repeat the exact same lesson over and over. You know, this whole success story with simple, diverse rephrasing, it perfectly illustrates this classic idea in AI research. It's something people in the field call the bitter lesson. And the lesson is this. Over and over again in the history of AI, simple methods that can be scaled up with massive amounts of compute and data, they almost always end up beating more complex, more clever approaches. It's bitter because it means all that intricate human ingenuity often loses to just more scale. So you can really see this as a contest between two different philosophies. On one side, you have this really elaborate approach. Think of Microsoft's early Phi models, where they tried to get an AI to generate entire textbooks from scratch. Super clever, but it just didn't scale. And on the other side, you have simple rephrasing. It uses small, cheap models. It just repackages what's already out there. And most importantly, it scales to the trillions and trillions of tokens that today's best models need. In the end, it wasn't even close. The simple approach won, hands down. So what does this all mean? Well, this fundamental shift from finding data to creating data is changing the entire game. It's changing the very nature of AI research. The job of a top AI researcher is no longer just being a really good data scraper. It's becoming much more like being a teacher, an AI teacher. So what does this new roadmap for training an AI actually look like? Well, you can think of it in 3 stages. Stage 1 is where we are today. We're using synthetic data to build the model's memory. This is all about rephrasing the web to give it a rock-solid foundation of factual knowledge. The next step, which is happening right now, is about teaching it logic. We're moving beyond just facts and synthetically generating millions of reasoning and coding problems to teach these models how to think. And then there's the final frontier, simulation. This is about creating entire virtual worlds for models to learn in, learning from experience, not just from text. And this isn't just theory. We are already seeing this logic teaching phase in action. Researchers are generating millions of coding problems along with their solutions. They're even having AIs translate code from one programming language to another. And the reason this works so well is that code is either right or it's wrong. You can run it and check it automatically. It's a perfect, verifiable way to teach logic. And the same idea applies to creating endless new science and math problems to force the model to learn reasoning patterns, not just memorizing answers. And all of this leads to a new way of thinking, a whole new paradigm in AI. People are calling it active curriculum design. The idea that researchers are no longer just passive data collectors, just scraping the internet for whatever they can find. Now they are active teachers. They are intentionally and carefully designing a model's entire learning environment, the curriculum, the exercises, everything, to shape its cognitive core right from the very beginning. So that data wall we talked about at the beginning, the one that seemed so final, it turns out it wasn't a wall at all. It was a pivot point. The whole quest for artificial intelligence is shifting. It's moving away from being a brute force hunt for more information and toward a much more elegant and frankly a much more interesting challenge, designing a better way to learn. So the future of AI really isn't about finding more data. It's about designing a better mind.